Here's a really great story for you. So this depiction is of Anzu, also known as Zu, which is ZU. And he was an Anunnaki that was a bit of a troublemaker. And he managed to persuade the Aigi, which I mentioned in the last video, watch that if you don't know who they are, to allow him on board one of their craft. Now, they were stationed above Earth, and he started to learn some of the mechanics of the ship, etc., and managed to persuade them to send him down to Earth. So he came down on a transport ship and met Enlil and persuaded Enlil that he would be perfect to help them. So Enlil allowed him to work with them, and then he stole the tablets of destiny. Dun dun dun. And he flew off in, I think it's called the Birdwind ship, to the mountains. And the only person that went after him that was brave enough, apparently, is, and I'll tell you in the next video. Following on from the last epic story I was talking about in the last video, the person that went after Anzu or Zu was Ninurta. Yes, Enlil's son. Now, he was the only one brave enough, or probably the only one with any decent weapons, because there was lightning bolts and there was huge battles. So much so that they depicted this in a stone carving, the battle between Ninurta and Anzu. And the lightning bolts and thunder and everything else people could see, humans could see, going on in the mountains. Now, Ninurta beat Anzu, took the tablets of destiny back, dun dun dun, where they belonged, and Anzu had a trial and was sentenced to death. So it was the Iggy's that requested that they have some sort of rest and relaxation down on Earth, because they'd never been here. And Enlil said, no, you can't have any rest here at the moment. There's nothing built for you. So the Iggy got annoyed, and that's when Anzu, who I mentioned in the last video, or Zu, came over to their ship and managed to persuade them that he'll be their spokesperson, because he was a bit of a thug. And he said he'll go down and talk to him. So that's exactly how he got down there. So of course the Aigi at that point was counting on him to basically speak for them, so that, because their working conditions weren't great and they were really getting annoyed. And they got annoyed so much that they actually at some point or another decided to start a rebellion against them. And guess what happened next? I'll tell you in the next video. And a huge battle ensued in space between the Aigi and the Anunnaki. And yes, this picture's from the Orville. Don't complain that I haven't got a real picture of a space battle that happened so many thousands of years ago, which people do actually, but they do complain to me that these are not the real pictures. But some people say the Aigi was a different race and wasn't actually the youngest of the Anunnaki. So their story goes that it was a slightly different race to the Anunnaki, obviously humanoid, 2 hands, 2 arms, etc. When I say humanoid, Anunnakioid. And they nearly got wiped out, and that's where the enki come up with the idea, because they didn't have these slaves anymore to work for them, in other words the Aigi, because they'd wiped them out. That's when they come up with the idea to create humans. And see, I don't buy that, because none of the Aigi was on Earth in the first place. So when they did create humans, humans ended up on Earth, and humans didn't man these spacecraft that was used by the Aigis. So the logic just isn't there. So anyone that says that they were a different race, I don't see it, because the humans then would have ended up being on the spacecraft, and the Aigi should have been on Earth mining, but they weren't, you see. So anyway, my version, which I think is the correct version, is they obviously had a huge battle, and eventually the elders won, and the Aigi had their tail between their legs, but they did they lost obviously people, unfortunately, in the battle, because it got to a war. But they obviously they carried on and worked for the Anunnaki, and we know that because otherwise humans would have been manning these crafts and not. And we know one of the only people that was showed any kind of advanced technology back then was Enoch, which is, you can see that in his book where he's talking about being shown various things. So no other humans, and he was blessed to be showed these things. So the logic is that the enki were offspring, young offspring of all different Anunnakis. Okay, 10 questions for the people that believe the Earth is flat in a dome. So, what's above the dome? Now, you're going to say the dome is the firmament. Book of Enoch says, and that's where you all got it from. Forget the Bible. You got it from the Book of Enoch, because that's where it's first mentioned, and it's then copied into the Bible. So the firmament is basically saying it's the atmosphere. They struggled to get through the atmosphere. Fine, that's true. And in the Book of Enoch, it says above the firmament, there's stars. So are you saying you want to take the firmament, but you don't want to mention the stars outside of it? You can't have it both ways. So what's outside this dome? Is the dome artificial? Or is it natural? Sorry, just trying to read. Halley's Comet comes every 70-something years. We see it for about 6 days over our planet. So where's it go? Does it hit the edge? Is there a little man down here in the corner thinking, oh, 70-something years is up, I better do it again? You see? Okay, to answer that one, please. Elon sending rockets up. Is he just sending them up for the fun of it and hitting the top of the dome? Or is there anti-gravity or gravity-less up here? So answer that, please. Are the planets and the stars all inside the dome? Because bear in mind, the Book of Enoch talks about the stars outside of the firmament, which is the atmosphere. So every little star that we see is inside here. The billions of stars we see at night, they're all inside here, are they? If not, what are they? Because there is something outside of the dome then. Next question. Are all the planets facing Earth? In other words, are they round or are they flat? And if they're flat, how come they're all just so happen to be facing Earth with the complete flat side showing to us instead of the edge? I can't get my head around that. So tell me if they're supposed to be flat or round. Because if they're round, why can't Earth be round? What benefit is it to NASA and everyone that we are on a flat Earth? Why hide the flat Earth? I don't get what the benefit would be. I just don't get that. If you can answer that one. Satellites for GPS, are they inside? So there must be, because someone said to me they're on string on helium. Really? To keep the 12 GPS satellites are on helium strings. So if you just answer those questions, one will be nice if you can answer one, but if you can answer all of those, that'd be fantastic, and I'm sure everyone will then agree that the Earth's flat. But if not, then I think what you're doing is, just my opinion, you're just finding answers to things that, just because you can find an answer to something doesn't mean that's how it was originally done. But thanks for your time. 400 videos and still going strong, and I hope you guys are appreciating these videos, because I do thoroughly enjoy doing them. And we know from previous comments from people that I am sort of not showing up on people's FYI page or whatever it's called. So if that's happening to you and you suddenly just come across me again, add me on YouTube. Look for Our True History on YouTube, and then not only will you find my live chats on there, which are an hour long and me completely waffling on about all sorts of subjects that you guys ask me about, but you'll also be notified when I upload the blocks of 5s and then blocks of 50 of them, so instead of watching them one at a time, and then you'll remember that I'm still around, and you'll come back and probably look for me on here, which then means you can carry on watching. So but please post and comment, let me know if you are still enjoying these. I don't know if you are, I'm guessing you are, I'm hoping.